Hello, welcome to a guide from Mythic Painsmith on how to play it for Frost Mage. I'm going to be talking to you about when you should use Mirrors of Torments, Frozen Orbs, Icy Veins, all that stuff, as well as what to do when you have chains and everything, and how to maximize your damage on the ads. So yeah, hopefully you find this useful. This first part that I'm going to talk about is going to be a little bit more about general cooldown usage, so there won't be really any footage showing, and you'll just be watching my guild's kill footage in the background, but later on, as I'm talking about more specific things, you'll see footage of it. Icy Veins, what should you aim for in this fight? In P1 you can get 1 cast off, you can get 2 cast off in P2, and P3 depends on if you get chains. If you do different frozen orb things, you can also get 2 off in P1, but it's dangerous and a bit unreliable and could cause you to lose a lot of damage, especially on the ads at the start of P2. I'll talk a little bit more about how you can get 2 off in P1 in the frozen orb section. So let's talk Mirrors of Torment. Typically P1 will end around 1 minute and 29 seconds due to you holding damage for the last hammer to go out, and as my guild called it, milk him for the last 3% of his HP, because you can get him down to about 67%. This means that you'll guaranteed only get 1 Mirrors of Torment off in P1, so it doesn't matter what you do with it. However, you should use it in the first 50 seconds of the fight, which you definitely would have, because then it will be back up for the start of P2. P2 lasts around 1 minute, 50 seconds, or maybe a little bit shorter for you, or a little bit longer. So while you could potentially use Mirrors of Torment again in P2, you should probably save it for P3 if you end up having a shorter end of P2, because you'll need the damage in P3. The third phase typically lasts around or a little above 2 minutes, which is plenty of time to fit in 2 Mirrors of Torment on the boss, and by the time you get there you'll probably be very panicked, so it's great to have it for the movement. And now the tricky question, what should you do with Frozen Orb? This will actually depend a lot on your raid team. If your tanks are good about pulling the boss to the balls so that people can cleave, then you can save your orb for the balls and get a lot of extra damage that way. And also a lot of CDR because your Frozen Orb will be hitting all the balls around as well as the boss. That extra CDR is how you could potentially get 2 Icy Veins out in P1, but I don't recommend that. It's very unreliable and dangerous. It is, however, a very dangerous strategy for melee, so you can see my raid team did not go for that strategy, and because of that, I chose to just full send my orb on the boss solo most times. And for P1, with the time it's happening, I found myself consistently getting only 2 Frozen Orbs and trying to get a third by spamming blizzards on the balls, left the third one mostly underutilized, and it came out as we pushed the boss to the intermission. So you can fiddle around with this for yourself. If you want to get 3 orbs in P1, you should cast Blizzard prior to the balls landing and keep casting it as the balls are rolling. It is possible to hit 4 mobs at the same time, preferably 3 balls in the boss. If you're good at aiming hitbox, you can kind of clip 4 balls, and then that would give you the maximum CDR for Frozen Orb, and you could definitely get 3 out in P1. For the other phases, I would just play it by ear. You'll want to cast Blizzard on the balls at every time, at least when they're just coming out, because you can't precast anything else. So, how do you maximize damage on the ads? After the fire comes out, start casting Blizzard below yourself and blink away, and then after the Blizzard cast finishes, shoot your Frozen Orb. Ideally, your orb is already on the way before they come out, so you just can start blasting your Ice Lances. Bonus tip, getting haste after your Blizzard is already down increases the CDR you get from the Blizzard for Frozen Orb. You should already be delaying Icy Veins till the ads are out, or as soon as you cast Frozen Orb, but the more you know, so that would have happened passively. You could potentially get 2 Blizzard casts off. This will depend on how fast your raid team deletes the ads. As you can see in the clip, I didn't go for the second Blizzard and instead opted to get in an Arcane Explosion and more cleaved Ice Lances. The second Blizzard can make your Frozen Orbs line up very well with balls in P2. Now this has nothing to do with playing Frost Mage, but I figured I should tell you, for P2 chains, what I found is the best way to handle it is to blink over the balls and then dodge in the spikes. That gave the other 2 people a lot of leeway in their movement, because typically people like to dodge into the spikes before moving anywhere with chains, and I found having all 3 change people dodge into the spikes before blinking over was very dangerous and ended up with at least one of us dying or bumping other people. So, the last tip I have for you Vendor Frost Mages, if you're running Theatar, is to run this Soulbind, Life is but an Appetizer, where when you're well fed you gain 60 speed and 60 avoidance. This is actually incredibly helpful for staying alive during the intermission and also reducing the fall off damage of the reverberating hammer when you have chains, because that thing slaps. You definitely would want your blink conduit to be up here instead of your ice block conduit. I was just doing some fate scribe, so yeah. That's all for this video. Hopefully you found it useful. I wouldn't be much of a shill if I didn't tell you to subscribe. I don't know. Yeah, please subscribe. I kind of like doing log reviews, so if you want me to do a log review on your law, you can put it in the comment, preferably Mythic, obviously, and I'd probably make it a video if you were fine with that. So yeah, thanks for watching.